Hey, how's it going? This is Jane. I'm a flying instructor, charter pilot, and skydiving jump pilot in Australia. Welcome to another episode of this podcast. Today, I want to break it off from talking about my university stories. Instead, I want to talk about why I don't want to be an airline pilot since I got my commercial pilot license back in 2014. I prefer working in the general aviation industry. I can't say 5 years from now or 10 years from now, I could change my mind. At least for now, I still don't want to be an airline pilot. Let me share my perspective. Disclaimer, I respect airline pilot a lot. It's a professional job, no doubt, and require years of studies to become an airline pilot and continue to be one with all the checks they need to do every year. Back in 2015, I had a taste in flying a Boeing 737 flight simulator when doing the multi-crew cooperation course. Essentially, this course gave me an introduction about how airline pilots operate in a multi-crew aircraft, meaning that the particular aircraft is certified to be operated with at least two or more pilots at all times. I learned quite a lot in this course, and I also learned a lot about myself from this course. First, communication is very important, not just for airline pilot, but also for any other jobs. Able to communicate in work environment is essential with your boss, coworkers, customers, etc. Second, I have a way better understanding about the importance of SOP, which is standard operating procedure. When flying a small light aircraft like a Cessna 152, a lot of people don't have any SOP or even a checklist flying those planes because it's quite simple to operate compared to a bigger plane like a Cessna 402 or even bigger plane like Airbus A320. Because of the complexity with hundreds of buttons in the cockpit, it's no-brainer that it will have a SOP to fly those planes. However, the more I think about it, SOP is not established just because of the complexity of the aircraft systems. It's about operating an aircraft with the measure of safety and efficiency. If the SOP is written properly by following the aircraft flight manual, pilot operating handbook, and other relevant documents, it can streamline the operations and minimize human error, like forgetting to do certain checks before landing, something like that. If you are a student pilot, you may recall your instructor taught you doing before landing checks or final checks when doing an approach and landing. Some instructors, including my instructor, might pick up on us doing the checks in different order each time. For example, my instructor told me he could see me doing the checks and all the check items are completed but in different order each time when doing circuits. I should have a set order of doing the checks and stick with it, so it's easier to follow and make sure I won't be missing any item. This is a mini version of a SOP. So after the course, I appreciate the usage of SOP so much more. Now, let's talk about what I learned about myself. Before I started learning flying in Australia, I always wanted to become an airline pilot because that is the only pilot job I knew at that time. I was born and raised in Hong Kong where it doesn't have general aviation. Also, my impression on pilot was heavily influenced by the famous TV show Triumph in the Sky. Of course, there were a lot of incorrect representations, but at least one of the actresses portrayed a student pilot accurately. She was hardworking and treated her position seriously, unlike other characters. Anyways, I only knew about general aviation when I started flying in Australia and talked to my instructors and other pilots that I met during those time. Then I realized there were a whole lot more pilot jobs in the aviation industry. First job I learned is of course flight instructor. I was very lucky to have two regular instructors who were amazing and showed me what a good instructor should be. It requires skills, experience, and patience to be an instructor. It's challenging but rewarding when I see my students reach their milestone, especially their first solo. I still remember my first solo that I sent as an instructor. My hand was shaking so much, not because I was unsure about my student, it's because I need to ask the ATC to request the option. Essentially, it means I have the option to do a full stop landing, touch and go, or a go around. In a control aerodrome, most instructors will use this term before sending their student solo, given that the students have done a few circuits that prove to the instructor that they are almost ready for solo. I never used that term before as an instructor. Of course, it was my first time sending first solo. My student's first solo was successful, thank God, and of course she received the congratulations from the tower regarding to their first solo. It was a tradition that ATC will do for all first solo. Unfortunately, I didn't get my congratulations for my first solo. Maybe the ATC didn't know, but I would gladly accept all my students' first solo congratulations as my own, every single one of them. I can talk about how much I enjoy teaching all day long. Second job I learned is charter pilot, who carry passengers or cargo. It's fairly similar to airline operation in some way. Airline operation is mostly regular public transport. As the name suggests, it is on a regular schedule and the seats are available to the general public. For charter operation, is on request most of the time. Could be last minute or a month down the road. In general aviation, the aircraft type can vary from a small light aircraft like a Cessna 210 or 206 to a bigger aircraft like a King Air or PC-12. You can slowly but surely grow as a pilot and learn to fly a lot of different aircraft. They are all very cool. Third job I learned is glider towing pilot. As you may or may not know, a glider doesn't have an engine, so it needs some help to get up in the air. Here comes the tow pilots. I find the aircraft they're flying is so cool. One day I will learn and get my tailwheel endorsement. In the Sydney area, Camden Airport is one of the airports that has active gliding activity, so that's why I know about tow pilots. Fourth job I learned is banner towing pilot. It's another awesome cool job that requires skills. I've seen YouTube video about how to hook up the banner to their plane and fly with it. It was mind-blowing. The pilot needs to do a steep dive towards the ground and then pull up to a steep climb. The hook at the back of the plane will catch the banner and off they go. It's just awesome. Fifth job I learned is skywriter, the skywriting pilot. Another awesome job. I feel like I'll be just fangirling about every job in general aviation. Basically, the pilot will just ride in the sky without seeing what it will look like. It's just an art form. They're not only pilots, but also artists. Next job, I will stop counting how many jobs, is aeromedical pilot. Another awesome job and utmost important pilot job. They are transporting patients from everywhere to the hospital. That requires high skill and efficiency. In most cases, it will be last minute call because they can't really foresee when emergency will happen. They are ready to go anytime during their duty. Respect. And that's what my goal as a pilot. I would love to become an aeromedical pilot one day. It will be challenging but rewarding. Next job is skydiving jump pilot. I'm one myself. It's pretty cool to go up with a lot of people in the plane and come back down with myself, so no one will judge my landings. Basically, I'm doing a lot of ups and downs throughout the day. It's quite easy once you get used to it. Next job is aerobatic pilot. If you have been to an air show or see it on TV, there will be some pilots doing some crazy stuff like doing multiple loops, flying upside down, etc. Again, it will require lots of training and high skill to do that. Next job is agricultural pilot. This is one of the pilot jobs that will test your ultimate stick and rudder skills. It involves a lot of low-level flying because they're spraying and fertilizing the crops. It's basically a few meters above the ground when spraying. The room for error is tiny. Respect. Next job is firefighting pilot. It's similar to agricultural pilot in some way. It also involves a lot of low-level flying. Also, with fire, it associated with poor weather conditions like turbulence and smoke. Not only the visibility will be poor, but also the air will be very poor. The pilot can't breathe in smoke, so is the aircraft. Besides, since they're flying low, there could be obstacles like power lines, wires, and windmills. Sometimes they need to work with other aircraft in a confined area as well. It's challenging, but they're well trained for it. Respect. Here are some other honorable mentions. So, after learning all the awesome jobs in general aviation, I completely changed my mind about being an airline pilot. I would love to try out different pilot jobs in general aviation. I enjoy the ability of controlling with stick and rudder instead of monitoring autopilot in an Airbus or Boeing. No offense. I'm sorry. At the end of the day, it's my preference. I love the job variety that general aviation offers, and all the jobs help the society in so many different ways. I want to stay in general aviation as long as I can. Here I am now, already a flight instructor, charter pilot, and skydiving jump pilot in Australia. I would love to become an aeromedical pilot one day. Let's see what the future will bring. That is why I don't want to be an airline pilot. Anyways, if you enjoyed this video, please give it a like. Thank you for watching. I will see you next time.